Welcome to the OtherWorldsGG Community Cast. I am Table for Two, and this is episode number 8. Joining me today are my two co-hosts that occasionally frequent my presence. Is Mellified and Alien Pickle. How you guys doing today?
I'm feeling frequently occasional.
Frequently occasional.
Hey, this is Mellified. I am wondering when we're not together. I mean, I guess when you're sleeping.
Ew, but you're always in my thoughts, though. You're always in my thoughts.
Oh, that's creepy. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'll just keep those thoughts to myself.
Get a
room. you and your thoughts, go get a room. But anyway, it's been interesting times. A lot of things have been changing around here as we're continuing to grow this community. One of the big changes that we've done recently is we realized that we were fighting like a two-front war here in our growth, trying to build OtherWorldsGG, and one of the struggles is not only are we trying to build a community, but we're trying to get the community to also adopt a new platform that is not really in the mainstream of adaptation or being used on a frequent basis by, a large majority of gamers out there, or people interested in gaming, as it were. And that was Gilded. So we've decided to pull back from that and go back to Discord. So our community now is on Discord. If you are on Gilded with us, there are links and information on getting back over to our Discord server, where things are already hopping, and we've got more people here than we've ever had. So we also had a really great community night last night, which we do every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. A lot of different games, variety games that we've been playing. So I think last night we played Battlefront 2, we played some Among Us, and then we played a little bit of Deep Rock Galactic for the stragglers who stayed for the long haul. So
yeah, well, and two, I think it's worth pointing out, we start at 7 Eastern, but we don't end at 7 Eastern, right? We kind of go pretty late into the night. And so if you're on the central time zone like I am, or even, Pacific, sorry, Mountain Time, you're not welcome. Feel free to join us when you can. I think that's part of the fun. People come and go. There's no pressure, but we'd love to have you.
Yeah, and that's kind of the idea. Like that's when we start the community stuff, but that doesn't mean you have to join us at that same time when we start. So that's kind of nice too. So just kind of pop in after we've started whenever you want to. So yeah, it was a pretty good time. We actually had a pretty successful time last night. So you can find links to our Discord in most of the show notes on the different podcasting platforms. I do try to get the link up on the YouTube stuff, because when this thing translates to YouTube, it doesn't always bring the link over. So I have to put it up there manually. But it's worth the sacrifice to inform the people. So if you're listening to this, you can always go over to OtherWorlds.GG, www.OtherWorlds.GG. You can that's where the podcast is actually headquartered at, and there's links there to the Discord as well. We're going to try and get some more official link that's easier to say on a podcast, other than like whatever the gibberish is of the short link that Discord provides. Yeah. So it's a pretty good time. We're really excited about it, and we're looking forward to getting more people. As a matter of fact, as part of this new explosion of growth that we've had, we are running a little giveaway. Mellified, how about you tell us about that?
Sure. Well, we decided to reward our early community members, that when we hit 100 active members, we're going to do a month of giveaways, where we're going to do a $25 Amazon gift card each week to our members. And there'll be a spot to do that in the Discord. You'll react to the message, and that'll enter you. But if you are a booster of our Discord server, you can get some bonus entries in that giveaway. So for those who don't know, boosting is a system Discord has for you to support your favorite communities. It helps the community by unlocking some extra features that take more bandwidth, more resources, but by having them, we can give, all of you a better experience. Better sound quality for voice chat, better video quality for streaming and video sharing, desktop sharing. So a lot of cool stuff there that we want to unlock for you. And as Table mentioned, we get a custom URL at some point for our invite links. So we're really, looking forward to grow the community. And as we grow, we can give back and reward you guys for helping us out.
Absolutely. It should be a pretty good time. Well, let's get to the news here. There's been a lot of interesting things in the news lately around gaming and the gaming culture, as it were. First thing on our list we got here is some RTX 3080 powered PC shoes. What in the world? I do not understand. I guess the great question is can they run Crysis though?
Right. Yeah. So we always need to know that.
I'd have to see their reflection in a mud puddle before I actually judge.
Yeah, these were kind of like a I guess like promotional item for NZXT, who make cases and components for PCs. It's not clear if it actually works or it was just kind of a look thing, but yeah, they're sneakers and they have a PC in them. So
what kind of video card?
The RTX 3080, yeah.
Right. So there are podcasters starving in the street for one of these cards, me, and I can't get one because I'm not going to deal with scalpers and pay like $2,000. Although I just got my stimulus check, so I could actually do that now. But I'm going to buy GameStop stock instead. But
oh boy,
that's another news story. Just turned me loose on that toward the end. Yeah. So I don't know how did they get do they have a pair? Is there like one card in each shoe? Because I'm talking about if I meet this guy, I'm stealing his shoes.
It looks like the shoes are not. One of the shoes has the video card in the sole, and it's got some electronics in the shoe, so they're not actually wearable, I guess. And then the other shoe just looks like a normal shoe. So yeah, I mean, I think this was clearly just a publicity stunt, but it's kind of funny.
It's like that. So. It's like that Bee Gees song. You can tell by the way I use my walk. I got RTX on. No time to talk.
Nice.
Nicely done, sir.
Excellent.
I will post the picture of this crazy thing in our Discord if you want to come see it. Join us. You can find the link on OtherWorldsGG.com.
It'd be like mining shoes. It's like, how long does it take those shoes to crap out of Bitcoin?
Well, I mean, the more you walk, the more it generates power, which means the more you buy.
Oh my God, you'd have to pay people to run in your shoes for you. It's like, I'm gonna sleep, right? Like, here's the shoes, get in the hamster wheel.
Look. If making money was as simple as walking around, do you realize how many people would probably do that?
Well, they have those walkathon things, right? Remember those from like back when we were in school?
Sure,
and it's like,
absolutely.
Oh yeah, we're gonna walk and we're gonna give like a penny a mile to to like March of Dimes. Well, I guess it would be a dime a mile, right? Because it's a March of Dimes. Anyway, that whole thing. And what if they were actually giving away like e-currency instead of dimes? It would be like, we're giving you like a Dogecoin a mile when you walk in these shoes because it's actually mining Dogecoin.
Yeah. Well, speaking
it'd be for charity, right? So you could write the shoes off.
Well, just to add to like the list of the ridiculous, right? We've also got Mountain Dew releasing a body pillow of all the things. It's just like Mountain Dew releases a body pillow. You've got these sneakers that've got RTX in them. All we need now is like Dorito blankets, and we're good to go.
Well, that's really the question I'm wondering with this body pillow is, does it have a resistant coating for when my Dorito fingers get on it? I don't want to like turn it orange. So
then it just becomes Baja Blast at that point, right?
Oh dear.
So Mountain Dew needs an anime girl as their avatar, right? It would just be like some neon green haired anime girl wearing like a Mountain Dew t-shirt, and then she could be on the waifu pillow.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because that actually ties into our next story. The Taiwanese Center for Disease Control turned some well-known diseases into anime characters. And yeah, this is as
Jim, this is right up your alley, dude.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
So
Jim.
hentai is a disease. So we've turned a disease into a disease.
There you go.
Because I heard you like diseases.
There you go. Check that out. It's well, I don't know how much of this we can post, but
acute hepatitis is a boy band wearing pins of lips and poo emojis. While syphilis pays homage to the poem for which the disease got its name, in which a shepherd named Syphilis was afflicted by the disease by the god Apollo. According to her official biography, she also likes classical music, falling in love, and will find the chance to stab you if you ever leave her. So mental illness is well alive and good, apparently, with these anime characters. There is a really good one, though. I have to share this. Viral gastroenteritis, which is stomach flu. There is no way a bug that causes vomiting and diarrhea is allowed to be that good looking, is what I'll say here. So, wow. Yeah, it's a little strange, but there are 25 of these diseases in the Recetera thread. And
oh no. Oh, said the forbidden.
Yes. Well, there's a COVID-19 one. There's rubella. I mean, they somebody really, they took an anime drawing class and needed to write it off as my best guess. So, at any rate, now we know.
Was there a COVID one?
There is a COVID one. Yeah.
Well, moving on to our next story. This is interesting because of a few reasons, but Gabe Newell believes that brain interfaces will create games superior to reality fairly quickly. This article that we're referencing here talks about, and they even show some possibilities of it. But I just want to take a second real quick and note that the image of Gabe Newell in this picture is kind of like a cross between like Bono and like The Dude. I don't understand what's going on here, but
I'll tell you what's going on. He went over to New Zealand to flee from COVID, and he's like, you can tell he's over there because they have like a national donut shortage going on right now. Like donut stock is through the roof.
I like that he is doing an interview with no socks or shoes on. Like no concessions to professionalism at all. He's just going to be Gabe and tell you what he thinks and, take it or leave it. Like he's gone full Hobbit.
Well, yeah, basically. But the funny thing about it is like Gabe's like one of those guys that's so wealthy, but he's not like an Elon Musk or like a Jeff Bezos or whatever. He's just like, I have all this money and I'm just going to like every now and then like say something crazy and then just walk away. Mm-hmm. It's just like you don't hear from him for like a year. It's just that's nuts. But I mean the idea of that's pretty interesting because I mean even Elon Musk has talked about like the brain chip, and then here he's talking about these brain interfaces that will create realities that are superior. Like I find that fascinating, and I'm not even sure what that even means or how that's even going to work, or
Well, it's one of the things I know science fiction has. We had like Ready Player One, where the assumption was you'd put on goggles and gloves to interact with the virtual world, and then they had special couches that you'd lay on to do this and stuff. If you go to a brain interface, all that goes away. You're just in the virtual world. It starts to get creepy pretty fast, though. I feel like and bizarre. Considering the possibilities for taking somebody and sticking them in a virtual world of your creation, whether they want to be there or not. So I don't know. I guess the future's coming, whether we're ready or not, right?
Well, what if it is all a simulation and we're just playing like a super advanced Gabe Newell product right now?
Well, that was Elon's theory, right? Was that we were all? It seemed very likely to him that we're living inside of a simulation.
If this is actually a simulation and we didn't make all the girls look like cute waifu, then we have screwed up.
Oh no. Well, speaking of screwing up, and Valve, they made a controller years ago, which had some interesting features, and I know people who absolutely love it. I bought them when they were like $5 on clearance and tried to use them multiple times and could not figure out how to, sort of get it working consistently the way I wanted. And you had to do that for every single game, so it got real tedious real fast. So they're sitting in a drawer somewhere, but Nvidia thinks that they can do it better. So instead of the touchpad, go ahead.
Well, let's backtrack. Two things I want to say about this. My mom used to work for the company that did the plastic molding for those controls from Valve, which is interesting. It was kind of like the one unique time that my mom and I could say that our like careers intersected. But outside of that, these I think Valve was pretty quick to like eject from all of this. Not just their like controller, but like the Steam Link stuff. So like it feels like, because for a little while there, it seemed like Valve was trying to get all in on hardware, right? Like Steam machines, so all these little things, the Steam Link, and then it just turned into, well, we're just gonna like make an app and then walk away from this. And then they like started giving away Steam Links for like $1 on like this giveaway. That's actually how I was able to get a Steam Link. I've never opened the box, but I was like, for posterity and for like the stake of saying I have one, just because it's kind of like some like unique piece of like tech history, I guess. I picked one up because it was only an extra $1, and I was supposed to get a controller with it, but like they were going, because they were just like, Valve was practically giving them away. They went fast. They were selling them faster than they were like than they could actually.
They are updating the inventory, yeah,
right. And so then the inventory updated, and they had to give me my money back on the controller because they actually ran out. And so there is no more. Like you can only get them through price gouged online, whatever. I don't think they're great controllers. I think they're really crappy. But this segue into the Nvidia thing is interesting because Nvidia's had a weird love-hate relationship with like what they've been doing in terms of gaming, right? So like to kind of like before we touch on this new controller that they're trying to do, I feel like it's important to almost kind of like look at where they've come from and where they are now, because they did their what was it called? The Nvidia Shield console, or no, the Nvidia Shield portable, right? Which was like their first entry into it, which was like a controller with a screen attached to it. It was like a self-contained unit. I still have one of those, actually. Again, a unique piece of hardware that I just find fascinating. And then from there, they introduced their tablet, which Jim actually has, right? And so they did this tablet thing where it was like the Nvidia Shield tablet. And then that graduated into their Nvidia Shield console, or their TV, or their like Google TV platform that they have now, that they've iterated on a few times at this point, and that's kind of like where they've left it at. And they've also had a unique experience with their controllers too, because they had these big, clunky, they're almost like original Duke style controllers. They're just big, and they don't really fit in your hand well. And then they finally came out with newer controllers that are very similar to like Xbox 360 or Xbox One style controllers that actually work really well. And then, of course, they also have kind of gone into the software route a little bit too, in terms of like the GeForce Now platform, which is their game streaming service, to their Shield streaming and home streaming stuff, where you can stream your gameplay from your PC to your Shield device internally. I think it's interesting that they're now, because everything's so PC based, they're coming out with this controller that is as an iteration on controllers, especially from the Valve one, that adds a trackball as mouse support, and I do not understand how that's any different than adjusting the sensitivity of the right analog stick. Can someone explain this to me?
Well, yeah. So people have wanted a mouse control in first-person shooters for a while, right? But I don't think your thumb is the way to do that.
No, I completely agree. Like, that does not make sense to me. I feel like if you're gonna play first-person shooters with mouse style controls, then get like a turret. You know, get like a Razer turret. The Gen 1s were nice, and the Gen 2s are even better. So it's like, you know, just use a real mouse and keyboard then if you want mouse controls. Like, I just don't see how mouse control sensitivity on a controller is gonna like help you.
Well, I think the problem with most controllers is the throw of the stick is very short. So if you imagine, this is going to get super nerdy. I'll try and keep it brief, but you imagine it's mapping a range of values across all the possible positions of the thumb. And it's hard to do just like medium amount of distance and do it consistently and repeatably. There are people who can, and there are some phenomenal gamers out there who have mastered that. But for most people, it's either all or nothing. You know, nobody's typically going halfway or part way. But you really want to be able to do that to line up, you know, good shots and things. And so I could see the appeal. I use a thumb trackball for work. So like this kind of appeals to me because I could do that same motion to move around.
Well, hold on. Let's clarify that for a second. Though you say you use a thumb trackball at work, is that a stationary device though, or are you holding something in your hand?
It is a stationary device on a desktop. Yes.
Okay, so what kind of trackball is it?
Kind of my case.
It's a Logitech something or other.
Okay, but the ball is in the center, right? So you're using like the bottom.
No, I'll show you a picture.
Is it a thumb ball?
It is a thumb ball.
Okay,
right. But it's on his desk though. It's not like he's holding it in his hand.
Oh, I know, but I'm just saying, like the thing, it looks like a mouse, except it's got a ball under the thumb, right?
Right.
And I have a trackball at work as well, but I can't use that thumb thing because it's just like just using your thumb for that. It's a thumb destroyer to me. So, but if I have like my whole hand on there, and you know, it's like I just pretend I'm playing Missile Command whenever I'm actually coding. But it's yeah. But I love the trackball. It's great, but it's in what I do with it, right? But the thumb version of it, I just can't jive with. It does not work for me, right? It's just like it's a weird thing. And if you even with the trackball that I'm super used to, if you try to play a first person shooter with that thing, good luck to you if you're used to a mouse, because no, that there's a reason that we use a mouse and not like every gamer has adopted the trackball as their FPS controller of choice, right?
Well, there are advantages though, right? Because when I get to the extent of my thumb, I just have to move my thumb versus having to pick up and move the entire mouse around. And from a shoulder and elbow stress perspective, it's actually much more ergonomic to have a properly positioned stationary object than moving your arm all over the place.
Well, right. See, that's being stationary at the computer, though. Like, I would argue that this is going to be a pain in the butt trying to hold it in your hand, and it's not going to give you the same or even as close of or as good of an experience as you think it will.
Right, but see, the problem is PlayStation in the PlayStation 4 solved this problem, and no developer uses it. The PlayStation controller has a trackpad right on it. And nobody uses it.
I don't know if that solves a problem though, or it's just a unique. Because like, I don't see how trackpads give any good quality of experience, and I think it says something that the developers aren't using it.
Perhaps. Well, what they use it for is 2 buttons, right? They have I can reach over with my left thumb and push the left side of the touchpad, or I can reach over and push the right side. And that's the extent of it.
But what about like a game that would actually benefit from having a cursor on the screen, but they don't do it? I've never been able to understand why you have a perfectly good trackpad.
Show me a game that would benefit from it, and I'll take it into consideration.
Well, I actually have seen a few PS4 games do it, usually for things like a map scroll, or Zoom or something.
But you could port like StarCraft over right now if you wanted to, because you got a trackpad.
RTS on a console, I'm out. If it's listen, seriously, if it's designed for a console, then that's one thing. Like if you look at Halo Wars, for example, that was specifically designed to work with a controller on a console. So
yeah, I'm a survivor of Red Alert on an Xbox, so I know. I got it for like $2. I gotta try this.
I'm a survivor of StarCraft on the N64.
Okay, so let me just say this. I love the fact that we are all such nerds that the most passionate debate we are having is about a trackball on a controller. It's fantastic. But all of that said, I don't know how this would work, if it would work. I think it could be interesting. But I agree with you that I mean, it seems weird to like be holding a controller and instead of a right stick, I have a trackball, right?
Okay, so what this controller needs in order to survive is that trackball needs to be a modular component that you can pull out and then pop a regular stick in. So if you want the trackball, you pop it in there, because they have the controllers on the market where you can actually like move the sticks and buttons.
Yep.
They're modular. Just modularize that trackball. Don't lock into it, because if it's cool for like a game or so, then sure. So the other thing is on the trigger buttons, right? I see that thing that looks like a scroll wheel that's between the trigger buttons. Is that indeed a scroll wheel? It looks like a mouse wheel, 2 of them.
Yeah, it does. And I don't know. I'm trying to scan the article again.
I don't know what that would get used for. Switching weapons? Something?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe inventory and weapons, maybe.
Oh wow. So if you're dual wielding, you can like independently switch what guns in what hand with that's a feature that no developer will support. Cool. That's the thing. You make hardware and then it's up to the developers to support it. But if it's not the common thing that's on all hardware, then developers aren't going to support it. So, yep.
Well, and that's where it's weird that Nvidia is making this controller of all people, right? Like this would have been a really interesting thing to see from Microsoft on the new Xbox, for example. But doing it for PC, I mean, maybe I guess if the PC would let you use mouse controls, because the one thing to remember is a stick is a fixed linear amount of movement from 0 to 255 in any direction. So a mouse is I'm going left or right or whatever at a velocity. So it's a completely different way of signaling movement to the game. So the games would have to put in special support for this or support a controller plus mouse input style, which may not exist, right?
I'm just gonna throw this out there. I personally think this is dumb. I'm just gonna be blunt about it.
We've been 15 minutes discussing how dumb it is. Basically, we're not advocating this at all.
Well, and it is a patent application. We should be clear, right? This is not a product that's coming out. This is, hey, we had this idea and we patented it, and so it's very possible that it may never see the light of day.
It just prevents other people from using a trackball on the thumb.
There is that, yes.
Anti-razor.
Yeah. So I don't think I'm not sold on it by any means, but I would be interested to try one if it actually exists at some point. So
okay, so before we move off of this, I have a controller question. Then, so there is a very successful type of controller, the VR controller, right? Like the ones that come with your Oculus or your Rift or Index, whatever the thing is. So there's that controller, and I can think of several applications for that controller where you don't have a VR headset on. You're just sitting in front of a regular monitor, but you could pick that controller up and manipulate things on the screen as if you were in VR. So unfortunately, with the Oculus, it relies on the camera that's on the Oculus instead of external sensors like it used to be to track the thing.
Mhm.
But with the Valve thing, I think you still have to have the lighthouses,
Yeah,
whatever,
lighthouses.
around.
Yep.
And honestly, like hanging little boxes off the wall is what's kept me from buying one of those. Just don't want to do it. So with the Rift actually having cameras that track it, hey, great. But I guess that kind of prevents the use that I'm thinking, because then people would have to have like a way to track it other than the headset. But if that thing could actually be used outside of that for stuff, right? Like that could be a particularly great FPS controller, even if you're playing like traditional screen or whatever, because did you ever play like Call of Duty on the Wii with the Wiimote?
No, never tried
okay,
that.
or Resident Evil 4 on the Wii with the Wiimote was spectacular, because you could just point at crap on the screen and shoot, and it was way better than any FPS has ever been on a console for me since. So yeah, interesting.
Well, we will have to do a special episode about light gun games and the lost genre that they are, unfortunately, because I have tried or purchased just about every light gun solution in the last 15 years.
There's nothing that compares to like what it was, for sure.
I know.
Like, can you imagine having like a plastic pistol, like with a cord on it, like in a holster that's like on your desk, right?
Absolutely. I mean, if something worked today that required that, I'd have one. Like, and here's the thing though, like, there's nothing that compares, because like in order to get any kind of quality out of it, you actually have to go and get like an old CRT, because like even people who had like projection TVs back in the day, or had like projectors themselves, like none of this stuff works with that. Like you actually have to have
it relied on the CRT's like timing to
right.
operate. There are solutions, like I have one for the Xbox One that is a little camera you put on your coffee table facing the screen, and then the guns shoot infrared lasers that bounce off the screen, and the camera can pick those up and locate where you shot, and it supports up to 4 guns, so you can have multiple people playing. And there's only like 3 games out for it though, unfortunately, and it's very finicky to get that camera positioned just right so it can see the whole screen, and all of that stuff. And of course somebody walks by and bumps the table, because it takes such effort. So
well, I feel like the Wii solved that problem though. They put like a tracker bar like right under the TV, and then it doesn't care. So yeah, but having like a camera in the middle on a table sounds really weird.
It's janky, no question. But I'm saying that's the most recent attempt at this that I've used. The Wii had sensitivity, problems and corner of the screen problems and stuff. So that wasn't perfect either, unfortunately.
I just miss the Super Scope. I just want like,
oh
yeah.
There is a way you can use your Super Scope today, but you need a CRT, of course. So,
Yeah, I remember back whenever it was like in the 90s, whenever they were testifying in Congress about how video games are evil. And they actually specifically brought up the Super Scope. And it's like, yeah, it's like we've given kids like a bazooka.
Oh, boy.
No, that's not how this works. But the at least the great thing is though is one thing before we move on to the next topic. One thing that I'm really like happy about in terms of this kind of stuff, and unfortunately COVID has kind of really screwed a lot of this stuff over, but was the reemergent of the retro arcade, or I guess as they like to call them, the barcades, where they're just like they're kind of like retro hipster bars, right? That had a whole bunch of arcades in them. There was when I was living back in Ohio, there was a few of them in Columbus that I would go down and visit on a very frequent basis that were just a lot of fun. And they had all the old like shooters and fighting games, pinball stuff, and those kinds of things. That kind of scene with the barcades. I want to once this COVID stuff, hopefully soon. Wishful thinking, but like, you know, when a lot of this stuff hopefully kind of clears out, these barcades can kind of like reopen up in a better fashion, because I really do feel like that was those returning were kind of like the last bastion of just like fun arcade experiences again. And Dave and Buster's doesn't quite cut it, because they don't
Dave and Buster's is worthless, man. Like I drove down there.
David Buster's was a casino for kids, is what it is.
Yeah, but I couldn't believe, like, we see they had basically a giant cell phone that was a
like
touch screen,
Bird.
and then and you could play, and no, it was Candy Crush was on the one, and it was like I could pull my phone out and look at Candy Crush, and it's exactly the same as this 4-foot tall screen that's also playing Candy Crush that I could pay $1 to play. It goofy, weird. Like, the only thing that was cool in there, talking about light gun stuff, is they had like a Halo light gun game where you're like on the back of the Warthog and stuff. That's kind of cool, because that's just crap you can't do at home.
That was Raven Assault or Raven Team. I remember playing it, and it's really neat. But like you say, it's the big sort of experiences you can't get at home, really, that are special, and that's, you know, gonna be gone, like the theater, probably.
Well, that's like, I feel like the console quality, specifically like in the era when the Dreamcast came out, Sega was actually using Dreamcasts in their arcade boxes, right? So why do I have to go to the arcade? I have a Dreamcast at home, and I get exactly the same game.
Yep.
So at that point, the arcade is dead. But I wonder, though, with the COVID thing, like so many small businesses not surviving COVID, it's particularly rough for, first off, it's a bar, right? And they have a hate on bars, right? But the other thing is, it's a bar where everybody touches
everything,
buttons and sticks and whatever, and then you just wander around, right? So it's like, well, what do you do? Like, you have like elves come out and sanitize everything in between.
Yes. Well, let's go on to our next story.
This is actually pretty cool. I don't know if you saw this, Jim, but there's somebody who in No Man's Sky basically built their very own Rapture City that is way too big for anybody to come and visit. Basically, you have to be just this guy in order to see it. So what he did was he found this area where he could build this entire big underwater city, essentially, on one of these planets. But he had to do it. So there's like a build limit, right? Like, you can only build so much within a build limit of your base before, like, it won't let you build anything more. So there's people that have figured out tricks and like ways of getting around that to build these big bases. But because he's the only one who's set up these tricks to do it, he's the only one who can see the entirety of the whole base. So if you were to go and visit what he's uploaded, it's only a fraction of what's actually there. It's impressive.
It's pretty shocking. It's a lot of pipes, that's for sure.
Yes. Well, and Rapture was such an iconic place to visit as a gamer that it's neat to see it kind of from this perspective. Obviously an inspired experience, but hopefully this is something like Hello Games, given how much support they put into No Man's Sky, could figure out how to incorporate it into the game somehow.
Take a look at this Hello Games and figure out a way for players to come visit this, because this is impressive.
Yeah, and the other thing, right,
took him over a year to build it, right? I think it was like over a year for him to build this. Sorry.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. And I wonder, did he do it in creative mode, or did he actually have to harvest resources for all this?
I don't know. I don't think it says in here. But anyway, go
ahead. I don't remember seeing that in the article.
But have you played Satisfactory?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, so that's the thing that I feel like they put in kind of a resource thing with not conveyor belts but pipes, but it's like you put harvesters and then you put tanks to put it in. but there's no way to automate the stuff coming from the harvester to the storage tank and then into the production machinery that it has to go through multiple stages, And I feel like if they made something like that where I can just make a giant automated factory thing, then you would see people making stuff like this that actually, instead of being an art piece where it's just like, oh, it's all decorative pipes and stuff, and it's like, it's cool to look at. Great. I went to this planet, I saw this cool thing, I left, but there's no function to it. And I feel like that's what the game needs next, is it needs a function that actually makes people build useful things that are also artsy.
Yeah, I think cool. Factorio does it, but it's a 2D, overhead game where you have the automation. And then I gather the game just hit early access, Dyson Sphere.
God, that looks great. Jim, you played that, right?
It's pretty neat.
You guys have that, don't you?
Yeah, I played a little bit of it. That's the one I was talking about. The translation was hilarious on it.
Yeah.
Because it's an Asian thing. I'm not sure where it was made, but I saw like some kanji looking, or could have been Chinese, in some of the screenshots, right? So it was like, okay, well, his primary language was Asian. They translated to English. It's early access, but they've got a voiceover, right? And it's a guy Midwestern accent or something, or he's very even voiced, so it could be like the best like speech synthesis that's ever been. I don't know, but it reads the like bad grammar, mistranslation stuff. It's like they took whatever language, ran it through Google Translate, and then put it in the game without like a normalization pass, right, to regional it. So they didn't have a native speaker go over it and fix the weird grammar. But the guy that's narrating the thing just deadpan reads that weird grammar like that's how we all talk.
That's funny.
Yeah, and I'm just like, what did you just say? You don't even know what you just said, but you said it really well. I just don't understand, why would they put the money in development into putting the voice acting in at this point before it's actually finalized? That seems like a late pass thing that you would do. But anyway.
Yeah, interesting. Well, I was excited to see the next installment in Elder Scrolls was announced. It's called Blackwood. And this is following kind of their pretty standard model. They do an annual expansion, and then they have some DLC dungeons in between. They have a storyline that carries through the whole year. So this is a location that we saw originally in Oblivion, the Elder Scrolls Oblivion game, and they've added some new dungeons. They've added new areas. Of course, if you pre-order, you get a mount and a pet. So yeah, I mean, this just looks like more of the same. The cinematic though is really, really good. If you haven't seen it, I would encourage you to seek it out, because it looks fantastic.
Yeah, ESO is an interesting MMO, right? Like, I think they're doing a really good job with it from like just like surface level MMO player. There's a lot going on in this game, and like everywhere you turn, there are quests galore.
I think that's actually its biggest problem, at least for me. I get overwhelmed with the quests, and I'm like, I'm just trying to go and finish this quest, and I pick up 3 more on the way, and now my quest log is full, and I can't pick up other quests, or I can't finish the quest I'm on. Or when I do finish the quest I'm on, I get another quest. Like, it's just very very quest heavy, which can be fun, but it just, like I say, is a little overwhelming.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm excited for new content. I've been playing this a little bit more recently too, and so just to see them adding more of the Elder Scrolls world into everything is pretty exciting. So I dig it. Awesome.
You want to pick up our next story?
I don't know much to say about this one. what is this? Ninja Theory's 4v4 Hero
Yep.
Brawler Bleeding Edge will get no further content updates. Well, I can't say that I'm surprised because I really don't know much about this game to begin with. So the fact that they're not getting more content is just kind of like, well, if I don't know much about this game, then clearly.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Ninja Theory came out with it. It's got some interesting characters, but they really seem to miss the boat on the actual gameplay mechanics. There's not a lot to kind of keep you going with it. But it was sort of a multiplayer brawler, and it was a 4v4 game. So kind of an interesting attempt there. But yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate. We always hate to see games fail. Like
Yeah,
this.
I feel like the whole MOBA thing is you put out a game and it either goes viral or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, then you just make another thing. You know, it's like they should make them cheap and fast and see which mechanic actually sticks, and then put money into it if it does. Right?
Yeah.
Like best bet, release it free to play as like what do they call it? Prologue, right? So it should have been like Bleeding Edge Prologue. Here it is, it's free, but there's only like 4 characters. But then if it actually catches on, then we'll actually make the full game with all the characters and sell it for $20 or whatever. But it's basically like I don't know. It's like, hey, here's like a thing that competes with Overwatch indirectly. Well, Overwatch already has the player base, so couldn't compete.
Well, and you have Paladins, which is Overwatch, but free to play from the guys who do Smite. You've got I'm blanking on the name, but there's no shortage of competition in the space, and so I think they were trying to distinguish themselves with the character design, but I think that didn't go quite far enough for.
Yeah, but if it was a brawler, like I see people with guns, right? So I don't get it. Like if it was actually like some kind of like 4v4 sword fight thing with like neon ninjas or cyber commandos or something, right? Then that would be more interesting. But if it's just like, hey, 4v4 with guns in an arena, well, we got like 20 of those.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about like a 3D Double Dragon that's 4v4? It's or like Streets of Rage in 3D, and it's a MOBA because you beat up the other people.
There's a VR game, actually a couple of them that use that as a mechanic. Drunken Bar Fight, I think, is one of them, which you gotta love the name. But yeah.
They should have just called it Donnybrook, the game.
All right, so Activision.
I really want to get your take on this. Considering you used to work for Blizzard, I want to know what you think.
Well, and I starred in Vicarious Vision's first game, which was an FMV adventure that was released only in Europe back in the 90s.
You starred in that? Hold on.
We need footage.
Back up.
So at the time, I was working for.
You're not gonna get out of this nullified.
I know. I'm gonna explain. I'm gonna give the context. I'm leading up to it. Give me a second.
All right.
So at the time, I was working in Rochester, New York for Forte VR. We were making the VFX1 VR headset in '95, and Karthik Bala, who was one of the founders of Vicarious Visions, was working. I think he was in high school or maybe college at that point. I think he was at RIT, and so he was doing this game on the side, and he needed they needed cast members for this FMV game, and so they got me.
The younger generation, it's full motion video.
Yes, thank you. And so they had me, play Herb the drug dealer, and I had some lines, and it's the game was called Synergist. It was a like weird cyberpunk thing. And I actually looked it up recently. I have the game. I haven't gone through to like find my video clip and try to extract it, but I didn't realize it only ever came out in Europe. So I can be like Hasselhoff and be huge in Germany. I don't know.
Unbeknownst to you, you've got a huge fan base that you've never known about.
Exactly. But yeah, so that's on my credits, and so like I we kind of keep in touch. It's not like we're besties or anything, but like I've sort of kept an eye on what's been happening with Vicarious Visions, and I remember I was with Blizzard when Vicarious Visions was acquired by Activision, and they did some great stuff. I mean, they did some of the better Skylanders games. They've done the couple of the Crash Bandicoot games. They did the re-release of Tony Hawk 1 and 2, which was really well received. So Vicarious Visions kind of carved out this niche of being, a really solid developer. And Blizzard, I think it's fair to say, has been struggling a little bit the last few years. I left Blizzard in 2014, and I felt like it was, on the road to ruin then. To be very frank, and in no small part due to Activision's influence. And once Mike Morhaime, who was one of the original 4 founders of the company, left, I think the writing was on the wall. It's just another Activision studio at this point. But Blizzard's been struggling. They had a bad launch with Warcraft 3 Reforged. It was really unpopular changes, and
I think the thing that bugged me about the Warcraft 3 Reforged thing is they forced anybody who had, so like in your Blizzard account online, if you like activated your old CD keys in there, you could download Warcraft 3 and Diablo 2 and stuff like that through the website. Even though the launcher didn't support those games, you could still go and get Warcraft 3 and Diablo 2 through the website. However, if you try and go and download it now, it gives you the updated version of the game that you have to play. And that, I think, is what really, the launch was a big, whiff for what it was itself. But whiff number 2 was the fact that they did not let you download the old original CD keyed version that you applied to your account. Because what if you got rid of those CDs and it was just you only had it through your account now? That bugged me. Sorry, I have to get on my soapbox for just a second, because I think that is just an egregious offense in my opinion.
Well, we don't have we sort of trust that digital games will be there. If we pay the money, if we get them digitally, they'll be on our account forever. And Blizzard kind of broke that unspoken contract when they pulled a digital game, because you pointed out you could have the CD key version and redeem it online, but you could also just buy the digital version from Blizzard. So yeah, it was a strange move, and people were mad too that if they had the original Warcraft 3 installed, it no longer worked online because it was blocked from Battle.net. Which Blizzard has been one of the best developers historically about supporting old games for online play. For example, you can still go play, at least as of a couple years ago, I haven't checked recently, but you could still go play Diablo 1, which came out in 1997, online on Battle.net with your friends, which is fantastic. Every game developer should do that, in my opinion, and commit to doing that. But at any rate, what actually happened here was, because Blizzard was struggling, I think Vicarious Visions what has now been changed from a studio under Activision doing its own stuff to now they are exclusively a Blizzard support studio. Now, what that means is kind of open to interpretation, but it sounds like they're going to be remastering a lot of old Blizzard games and maybe helping out with some of the, certain pieces of some of the newer games rather than getting to do their own stuff. And if I were one of the 200 odd developers at Vicarious Visions, I think that'd be kind of a letdown. That'd be kind of a bummer. I'm sad to see this. So.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I mean, people were rumoring about them coming to be the full-time dedicated Blizzard support team, and whether or not that means that they're going to do like an HD remaster of Diablo 2. And then you had people who are like, that's awesome. I kind of chuckle at the fact that people are excited for that, but yet at the same time we'll get like really miffed at the idea of a new Star Wars Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic game not being made by BioWare. It's like, what? How come one thing seems cool, but like if BioWare's not involved, you're just like, why is that? Like, why is BioWare not involved? Like, bro, do you know? BioWare hasn't been involved for a long time. And even if they were, it's not even going to be the same developers. It's kind of makes me chuckle.
That's the thing, is like BioWare hasn't been the BioWare that you remember for many, many years. I mean, they were bought by EA. The founders retired. A lot of the leaders of the company have left. So, it's a shell. It's not the BioWare of yore, if you will.
Yeah, and that's why it just makes me kind of chuckle, because it's like, people are willing to get upset or like concerned over one thing, but yet then like completely turn around and like be like super excited because it's just the name, right? So it's just like Blizzard's name is attached to it, so it must be okay. So
I had a friend who worked on Coder 2, and
that was Obsidian.
It was Obsidian, which they didn't even work on. And it was weird because like Obsidian for a while was like BioWare's second studio, even though they were completely independent. Because BioWare did a couple of games that got sequels from Obsidian, but that was one, and there was one other. But anyway, what my friend mentioned to me that I found fascinating is that BioWare RPGs are certainly legendary. But they've always got kind of a clunky UI. I've always been sort of frustrated. And I was complaining to my friend, like, why is the UI so trash? And he said, oh, well, that's because, the guys who founded BioWare were like PhDs, right? So they were all about high concept, computer science stuff. And they really wanted, to push the concept of gaming in terms of building these crazy complicated systems and having the conversation trees and trying to flesh it out that way. And everybody wanted to work on that stuff. Nobody wanted to be the UI guy. So they would hire interns from the local university who were learning to program to do the UI element. So, it's like Junior's first game project, UI work. So, there's all these sort of fascinating stories you pick up over the years, but I don't understand, any game company is made up of a bunch of people. Any AAA game is made by more than 100 people, and they all put their stamp on it. They all put their touch on it. And sometimes that's magic, and sometimes it's the reverse Midas touch and it's shit, right? So, I don't think there's any simple answers. And just because a developer worked on a game 20 years ago doesn't mean they're going to make a good sequel. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's true. Very
like
true.
Whenever Microsoft buys like Rare, and it's like, oh, they got Rare, this is going to be amazing. And it's like, well, is it even the same people that were there back whenever?
Yeah. Well, they got the IP, I guess, but that's about it.
Yeah. Well, it's like BioWare right now, right? It's like, can BioWare make another cool Mass Effect? It's like, don't know, but none of the people that made the other one are still there. So
right.
Well, I'm going to expedite some of this news real quick just to kind of
move us along
a little bit. We're getting close on time here. Grounded is getting a new update that's going to be adding mosquitoes, fireflies, bees, and some new crafting content. I don't know about you, but some of them big old spiders are scary enough. I don't know about bees, man. I think that
not the bees.
Fireflies could be cool because they'd give you lights, right? You could break
off their butts and turn them into torches.
But yeah, I mean, mosquitoes are not good one, and I'm an adult, so I can't imagine being shrunk down.
I was about to say, just turn into like a skeletal, like, you know.
Yeah, they suck all the blood out of me and
Did you
leave me a
did you ever see Stargate Atlantis? You know, like the Wraith. You know, these just mosquitoes come up and just like, you know, squeeze you dry.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see. They had to put an arachnophobia setting in the game because people were so freaked out by the spiders. So yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see.
I know somebody who'll need that setting. Not gonna say names, but anyway, that's cool. And Grounded's been a lot of fun, and I've been loving watching the development of that. And I think we should do that for a community night, try and get a bunch of us in there. And
yeah, that'd be a blast.
Feature that game needs, because it's got the ants running around, and they're like one of the only critters that's non-hostile to you. I want it to be like Ant-Man, where I can actually train the ants to do things, right? And then, like, I don't know, like I get pheromones that I can make where I actually like paint a pheromone trail for the ants to follow and do a task or something. That would be
cool. Yeah.
The other one that's interesting too here is Sea of Thieves.
Lots of Sea of Thieves news. I struggled to kind of keep it brief.
We'll do bad news and then good news. So bad news is they're pulling their voice and text chat from their arena gameplay due to the toxicity of the of the chat and that gameplay, which is interesting that it's only there that apparently is that ridiculous. And I find that interesting because it's just like, did none of you guys actually ever play like Halo on the Xbox back in the day? Just like, I mean, for me with like you know, Xbox Live Gold, I always had just like voice chat immediately muted. I never heard another player because I just did not want to deal with it. You got the kid asking for like chocolate milk in the background, like yelling at his mom. Mm-hmm. You know, just like I'm not interested, right? And I don't, you know, I just find it interesting that these systems, you can toggle yourself on and off, but you can't toggle whether or not you want to hear it. And I find that interesting that games have just kind of diverged away from that. And the biggest one that's an issue for me, I mean, this is kind of an issue too with Sea of Thieves, but the biggest one that's an issue with their voice chat system is Battlefront 2, the new one. Like, that game's been out for forever, and they still haven't figured out how, like, can I just, like, toggle this voice chat off? Like, I don't feel like all games need to have voice chat in it, and I felt like voice chat and, like, chatting functionality was better curated when communities ran them, you know? It's like, you know, you run a Discord server, and you kind of can curate your experience there, or... You know, I don't have to listen to these other people because I'm not in TeamSpeak.
I wonder if the reason that developers, you know, use voice chat everywhere is because it's actually pretty expensive to license the codec. But once you've paid for it and you set up the infrastructure, it's like, oh, well, yeah, we can just throw voice chat on there. So they just use it for everything because they've already done all the work to set it up.
I feel like it's a console symptom because people don't have a keyboard, so they have to have voice chat if they're going to communicate.
But the thing is, the consoles have a universal chat system, you know, for at least for your party, so you don't necessarily need it in game.
Right.
Yeah, so why does Battlefront do that to us? Because you can't shut it off.
Yeah, you have to.
All you have to do.
So if you party up with somebody and you're already using something, say like Discord, because the in-game voice chat also is kind of finicky because it doesn't work for everybody, but like when it does, it just has it on, and you have to go in and individually mute everyone. And there's no like toggle in settings that says, "Hey, I don't want voice chat on at all." There's no voice chat options. Period. They're just not there. And sorry, I felt like I was
thank God. Does it still have push to talk, or is it just hot mic?
It's hot mic.
Your hot mic, like as soon
as you're in.
That's an amazing amount.
But I guess what they're like thinking behind that is like, well, if you've partied with this person, then it must be okay. And it's just like, no, it's not.
Yeah, you've partied with this person, so you want to listen to them eat carrots while you play the game.
Well,
like bag of chips.
Yeah.
I don't think it's bad news. I think it's great that they're pulling it because
I agree.
I don't think it's necessary.
This is me agreeing with you. If you're in an arena thing and you're already doing some kind of competitive stuff, why wouldn't you be in your own private Discord or, you know, some other voice chat elsewhere anyway? Like that's or like party chat on Xbox Live or something like that. You know, like you're already in some other thing if you're doing competitive multiplayer already. So this to me, this is actually good news, and I hope that it kind of can carry over into other realms as well. The other interesting news from Sea of Thieves is they're doing their season stuff now. So they have season 1 that it's out. They're adding in a whole lot of new
cosmetics,
cosmetics and all kinds of cool stuff with that. And they haven't yet, but they're going to be also adding in more content. I think they even mentioned there's going to be some more islands that they're going to be putting in. So I'm pretty excited about that. I would definitely like to see a less not to say that the random player encounter stuff has to go away, but I would like to see a more PvE focused environment where maybe they turn down the experience points in favor of a troll free experience, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, I think it's one of those games that would benefit from a PvE realm versus PvP realm type of thing. So, you know, if you want PvP, it's there, but
you know, because I'm not opposed to it. I'm not against it because I've had great experiences playing this game, and I've had some pretty terrible experiences playing this game. But I think it all balances itself out. So I'm pretty excited about that. Sea of Thieves is a good time, and we played around here too. So
yeah, well, the couple of the things that they added recently, along with the new season, we've got 3 new achievements. They're also adding 120 hertz at 4K on the Xbox Series X. Which is pretty great if you have one of those consoles. So great to see them, you know, continue to invest in this. I know this game had a really rough start, and a lot of people didn't get what they were trying to do at the beginning, but it is one of the more fun co-op experiences you can do today, I think.
For sure. All right, Melified, you want to handle this last story for us?
Sure. I did want to do a quick PSA about an earlier story that we skipped. If you pre-ordered a Polymega, this is a multi-console hardware emulation platform via Walmart. Apparently, there's been a dispute between the makers and Walmart, and those pre-orders are not going to be honored. So you need to cancel your pre-order with Walmart. Go to Polymega. They have a discount code, and it's Walmart 50, I think, and you get $50 off your order, which matches the price they were going to offer it through Walmart for. So if you are a Polymega, somebody who's been interested in that, I know that console's been in development for several years. It started as an FPGA thing, and now they're doing straight x86 emulation with it. But if you have one and you order through Walmart, please, you know, go check out, you know, how to get your order moved over to Polymega so you don't miss out. All right, so last, real quick, also Axiom Verge game news. It randomly got a randomizer mode. So this moves where it's a Metroidvania. So where the items are that unlock new areas are randomized, but the game is smart enough to do it in a way that you can still play the game and get all the way through it. So I thought that was a pretty exciting little thing, especially for free.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Where I've seen that is like people doing like Twitch runs of Zelda with a randomizer on, where it just moves everything around in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is that same concept essentially. And they do have a sequel. It's a single developer who did Axiom Verge, and he's got a sequel in development, I know. So that'll be really exciting. So last but not least, there is a great kind of RTS hybrid by Relic Entertainment called Company of Heroes 2. One of the great all-time PC games, I think. Company of Heroes 2 came out 7 years ago, and they are doing a new release of it, or an updated release. It adds 64-bit support, so the game will run in 64-bit. Which also will include enhanced graphics and performance over the older Legacy Mode version, which is the 32-bit version. Plus, they're adding Steam, Game Pass, and Windows Store crossplay, so that if you're playing the game on PC, you can play with the full community, which I think is fantastic. I love to see when game developers get out there and bring everybody together.
Yeah, no,
so
that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like, you just couldn't ask for anything more. I was super excited to see this, and it was really, really nice that Relic's continuing to support the game. So,
well, right on. Well, gentlemen, is there anything else you guys want to bring up, talk about? Anything interesting? Games playing?
GameStop stock.
Oh no. All right, so we're going to be clocking in at about 2.5 hours. Notify the affiliates because Jim's got some.
No, it's just like gamer people are going to hear this and not know what's going on. So it's very interesting, right? So there's a thing called shorting in the stock market. So it's basically like, let's say that you have 20 tacos and I come to you and say, hey, can I borrow your tacos for a couple of days? And then I take your tacos and I sell them to somebody else, right? And then it's on the assumption that the price of tacos is going to fall. So in a couple of days, whenever tacos only sell for like half what they used to, I can buy those tacos back for half what I sold them. And then I give them back to you like, hey, man, here's your tacos back. Thanks for letting me borrow them. Well, if the price of tacos goes up instead of down, then I have to actually lose money to buy more tacos off the street to give back to you because you expect them back. So that's the whole thing that's going on. Is it's a bunch of people on Reddit saying, hey, these people are putting this giant bet against GameStop. Let's go buy up all the GameStop shares, which will make the price rocket up, and we'll buy all the shares out of the market so they can't go out and buy more shares to fill that debt, which means that then the people that loaned them the shares come calling, which is called a margin call, and they say, hey, we want our shares back. Well, we can't give them back. All right, well, now you got to sell off your good stock that you have, right? So, and it's like, well, how much could that cost? Well, it's sucked about $13 billion out of the market so far in a week. So pretty shocking. And they're doing it with AMC movie theaters too, because this particular hedge fund is like a parasite that targets companies that are kind of teetering. So they go in and just push them off the edge and then make profit on the fall. So it's kind of Reddit's revenge for all the crap tactics that are going on, but it's gamer adjacent because it's GameStop.
All right, did you guys follow all that? Yeah, neither did I. It's been a very, I mean, I did. I'm kidding, but it's been a very weird year. So I mean, like, it's
let me put it to you this way. So our friend Gage, right? He also game developer, right? But he plays the stonks, right? He's the stonk lord friend of mine, and I didn't know anything about how any of this worked until like Monday night. So on it was like 2 weeks ago or so, he bought GameStop stock and he put about $1,000 in, right? And then Wednesday night when it was at peak, he cashed out and made $55,000 in about a week.
Yep.
So that's the magnitude of the craziness that's going on. And there's thousands of people doing that. So you add, $50,000, $100,000 times a few thousand people. And they're up to like $13 billion in the hole right now. So it's going to be really interesting to watch this play out next week.
Yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. Well, that'll do it probably for our news segment on this week. Again, as a reminder, we have moved over to Discord, so feel free to come and find us over there. We're having a pretty good time, and we're also doing the giveaways. So if you guys could come on over there and help us out as we grow, we get to 100 new. Well, not necessarily new, but we get to 100 people in the community. We'll do a giveaway of $25 gift cards, one a week for 4 weeks, right? Malified, am I speaking correctly on that? I believe that's you're muted. Speaking of Discord,
I am muted. I was saying yes, that is the plan. That is.
And then, of course, for anybody who boosts, you get an extra name in the hat to get an extra name in there for a
little extra try. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're pretty excited about that, and a lot going on. We're having a lot of fun over here, so we'll see you guys over in the Discord to talk about this and more on gaming. So this has been episode number 8, and we will see you guys next time.